Hey everybody, just want to do a quick video. Well, I guess it's Car Chat 6, right? Or 7, I forget. I think this one's mostly just about architecture school. Is it worth it? I know this post on Reddit always comes up. You guys go to the architecture Reddit. There's tons and tons of posts like, is architecture right for me? If I'm artistic, am I good for architecture and things of that nature? I think architecture is one of those fields where you have a love-hate relationship with it. You even if you love it, you probably still hate it. But yeah, a lot of the people that join architecture, like, you have to love it, just because it's like that one quote, right? Of what's the definition of madness is doing things over and over again, expecting a different outcome when the outcome's already determined, right? So that's kind of that's how you can describe architecture. Is architecture school worth it though? Is it for you, right? I'll right off the bat, you don't have to be artistic. We'll scratch that out of the way. Architecture, I think, is a unique field where I think your most rewarding is your critical thinking, your ability to adapt and design things out of nothing, right? So that's there, but okay. So architecture school overall, I think, is not worth it unless. Okay, let me take that back. It's worth it if you can get it for free. So if you can go to a state school, a cheap program, then it's definitely worth it because you're not gonna be in any debt when you graduate, right? I think having no debt, just overall, especially in architecture, is what really is going to separate you from the rest of your colleagues. If you can get to like a state school, like in California, for example, we have Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly Pomona, and the more hard ones to get into are like UCLA. There's also UC Berkeley, Cal. I forgot what the programs they have. So there's quite a few right in California that are public. The private ones that have architecture are USC. I believe San Diego has a program. I don't remember. There's SciArc. There's New School. There's a bunch of different schools, right, that offer it. Right off the bat, I'll say private schools are not worth it. Unless you're rich and you have rich parents, they're not worth it. Even though I love SciArc and that's where I wanted to go at one point in my life, no, they're not worth it. Getting ahead of your degree with no debt is probably the most rewarding experience that you could do, and that's something I recommend to all students of any majors, right? If you're here in California, then if you're under a certain income, right, you can get state college for free, right? My wife got her state college paid for free, basically. And so if you can get to Cal Poly Pomona or Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, it's relatively cheap. You get a great degree, and you're pretty much set. Those are 5-year degrees. So you do your 5 years of schooling, you get out, and you're gonna work. What is it, 3,200, 3,500? I forgot how many hours it is anymore. And then you'll be able to get your license. Boom, done. No debt, nothing. And that's gonna set you far apart because having no debt right after school, you're gonna be able to proceed to like do things you want to do, travel, get jobs that you might not otherwise want to pick up. Like maybe you'll work for a star architect and you'll be able to take that pay cut because you don't have any debt looming over you, right? So it just drives your opportunity way ahead of anybody else. So that's why I say it's worth it if you can get it for free. It's not worth it if you can't. We'll use me for example. I've had a 3.5 GPA. I got rejected from all the schools in California. And what did my dumb self do? I ended up going across the state to another school, right? But I was desperate. I had a kid on the way. It was I had to get into some school. I wanted to, just finish my degree, right? Where I messed up was, taking private loans out when I didn't really need it. I really only needed about $2,500 per semester to just cover for myself. That's not including rent. Rent was around $900, and then later on $1,200, which was more doable once I got my job there. The reason I think architecture school is worth it from an educational background is because what they teach you there is not just artsy fartsy stuff, right? You're gonna learn critical thinking skills. You're gonna learn adaptability. You're gonna learn just a process of a framework of design and discovery, and you're gonna learn some more schools offer building and material class structure. So it's a well-rounded degree for what it is, right? It's not STEM necessarily, but you're gonna know physics, you're gonna know art, you're gonna know very literature. And except for me, I suck at literature. So, but a lot of the courses are very rigorous. You're gonna learn how to write. There's very amazing stuff. You're gonna learn how to build things. A lot of the schools nowadays offer. A lot of schools nowadays now offer a lot of certifications, welding, robotics, things of that nature. So in terms of what you get for what you're paying for the degree, you get a lot. So it's not an artistic degree, and I hate when people say that it's an artistic degree, because no, you're learning things, unless you go to like something crazy like MIT or things of that nature, right? But even then, where the artistic portion stops is if you design this really cool building in school, then you're gonna have to. Most teachers and professors are gonna tell you, okay, let's detail detail that out now. How are you gonna build it? How are you actually gonna build it? And a lot of good schools are going to push that methodology, especially CYRIC. I know for a fact CYRIC does that, where, yeah, you might design some crazy project, but you're also, most of the courses, the professors are going to make you detail it out. How are you going to waterproof it? How are you going to do this? So, again, critical thinking, and that's, I think, what's worth it. That's your bachelor's, right? Your bachelor's, if you can get it for free, do it. If not, I say try to be under like 10K, 20K minimum for debt. That's just manageable, right? Now let's go on to master's. Now master's is where I think it doesn't matter where you go. It's not worth it. Why is it not worth it? Because you're not going to get a pay increase. Master's, I believe, is more of a BS degree. A lot of the master's programs are really more inclined towards a specific topic, right? Your thesis, and the thesis is more artistic and wine. Yeah, you could go technical, but most masters don't technical. It's just if you're gonna study something, you're gonna apply your architecture jargon, you're gonna make a project that addresses that issue, right? It could be urban planning, etc., etc. Very few masters are worth it. Again, if you can get it free, you get a scholarship, then yeah, do it. The only reason I think it's not worth it is because those 2 years, sometimes 3 years you spend in masters, you can do that. You can be working those 3 years. Those 3 years you're working in masters, you're already working 3 years in a field. You're probably already gonna have you're gonna done with your AXP hours, which is your NCARB accreditation, and then once you're done with your hours, you can go get your license. If you go from bachelor straight into masters, that's another 3 years you're behind in the workforce. And then you're not gonna have you're not gonna be able to get your license, etc. So in terms of time invested, it's not worth it, because really not a lot of jobs require you to get a master's or require you to have a master's. There's unless like you're gonna work, even some companies like big architects or even some of these key star architects. I've had friends that have gone to work for them with just a bachelor's. Even before they had a bachelor's, they were super good, and they got in just through their internship. So you don't need a master's. For example, you're working, let's take for example something that particularly happened to me. So I started in one particular job. I started working with one guy. He had just finished his master's, and I had just finished my bachelor's. We both got in the same position, same pay, same thing, etc. Right? There was really no monetary gain for him because he had no work experience. I had no work experience. We're technically the same person. But I've also experienced the other way around, where I've gone to work with people that a guy that had a PhD, right, but he's never worked a day in his life. So that's kind of the other edge of the thing. So I think that's why it's not worth it. And every year, obviously, you're going to get a raise. Every year, you're going to get experience. So when you go to apply for a job, and you and the master's person are competing for that job, they see you 5-year degree, bachelor's, 3 years of experience, 2 years maybe, 2.5. You're done with your accredited hours. You're ready to take your licensure exam, and you have this master's guy who hasn't worked, hasn't got his hours yet. Who are they going to take? Obviously going to take the person with the bachelor's. So that's why I say master's doesn't matter. I think at this point in the game, master's is just kind of like a bragging right now. Oh yeah, I got my master's from here and there, right? But there really is no monetary value in architecture. Other fields, no, I agree. Like if you're gonna study, mechanical engineering, then obviously it's probably is worth it to pursue a master's to specialize in a particular field, right? Architecture, the beauty of it, there's no specialization. You can pretty much do everything, or shift from one thing to another relatively easily, just by the nature of building and the systems that are integrated, right? There's no special unique case, unless you're doing like grasshopper parametric stuff for like a really big company. It's a lot harder to shift into documentation and construction documents. And that's a question a lot of people always ask on Reddit. It's like, should I get my master's here? Should I get my master's there? And I'm always honest with them. I was like, are you gonna pay for it? Is it free? If it's free, it doesn't matter. Go for it. If you're gonna pay for it, why do you want to go 50, 60 grand into debt? You're not gonna make that much. If you look at the statistics of all the AIA pay right now, only like the top 5% are making above 100,000. And that's either you have to be registered, probably 6-7 years of experience. It's sometimes 10 to even break that plateau. You probably have to be in a super metropolitan area to break the 100K. Other than that, if you're working, I don't know, like a rural area in an architecture firm, you're not going to be making 100K. You're probably making 45, 50K, right? And that's the other thing that I'm always honest about people is these when you're online on Reddit, people tend to romanticize like, oh, but if you love it, it's worth it. Like, no, like you shouldn't accept meager salaries just because you love your field, right? You wouldn't tell a software engineer to take a lower salary just because he loves it. No, you gotta be paid for what you're worth. So that's why it's not worth it to do a master's. Those 3 years that you've missed out on work, you could have been raised, and then I think eventually it equals out though. So I think eventually, if you're both not licensed and you're both working, then you're both going to get to a certain point where you're both going to be kind of stuck until you can get your license or become a project manager, things of that nature. A lot of things I've noticed too right now is just this BSing of project managers and titles. Right now, there's a current inflation of titles. People graduating school calling themselves project managers, job captains. So like titles have slowly are deteriorating because there is no responsibility anymore. Like you can't. The only way you can prove somebody's a job captain, right, is you give them a whole project and let them do it by themselves, right? And nowadays everything's collaborative. Your slack is sort of picked up by other people if it's a big project. So there's truly no method there, right, to do that. But we'll see how they do it and then things of that nature. But that's kind of why it's not worth it to get a master's. PhD, even less so, unless you have some. Well, I think most PhDs are grants, right? So, but yeah, master's in architecture is never worth it. Don't do it. But that's my opinion. I think you could do it if you want to. That's my experience. I feel like if you get work experience and later on in life when you're set, you have time, you got your house, you got everything, then you could go back and get your master's. Do it online, and it doesn't matter. But I think early in life, everybody could benefit from working. Get an internship right away as soon as you can. Learn, and that's going to take you a lot further. Also specialize in something, right? If you're good at construction documents, put your heart into that, because it's very difficult to find somebody that can do CDs all the way. If you're good at parametric stuff, put your heart into that. Start making add-ons, plugins, things of that nature to help streamline the process. Get yourself in a BIM manager role, BIM coordinator role, and then that's a whole different pay right there. You want to make money, that's where you should go, is BIM management. That's where the money's at, which is where I'm trying to pivot to now. if you're good at Revit, like become that Revit guru, become that asset for your company, but also be able to do documents and all that stuff so that you're well-rounded enough that they keep you, right? But I think most importantly, if you can, and you know, get your bachelor's, get your license. I know I'm trying to do it. I'm a little broke right now, and I don't want to slave myself to a company. So most companies will offer you the opportunity to get your license through them, but most of them require you to stay there for 5 years and things. And I don't want to do that. I want to do it on my own, not be a slave to anybody, right? So get your license. Try to get a free education if you can, with little debt, and you're gonna be way ahead of like 80% of the architecture students. And I made an essay a long time ago where I talked about this, that architecture to this day remains a profession for the rich. And that's where it is. That's where all the, you know, and this is just talking from people around my studio, right? Like the majority of the people in my studios were from well-off families. Like fathers were lawyers, fathers were doctors. They were well-off families. Very few that I encountered through my studies were actually low-income students. Majority, you know, that's very rare. Mostly because of the time it takes to get to that point, the money costs, right? If you don't have any scholarships, how are you gonna pay for building your all the models you're gonna make? But the thing I have seen in my experience, especially like I was one of those people that didn't have, you know, rich parents, right, to pay for everything. What I've noticed is there's pros and cons, right? I noticed that like some of the people that, you know, all their stuff was paid for, they just didn't put the time and effort into their designs, right? They just kind of were there to do the motions, get the degree. They already had a job lined up. They had their life set up already. And we knew a person that was like this in school. She was rich, and then she always talked about like all her ski trips, all this stuff. It was annoying, whatever. But that's how she grew up, right? And she had internships set up every summer while she was there already by her family. So when she graduated, obviously she was already set up. And there's other people that you know, some of the harder workers were like the people that had limited resources. They were there because, you know, they were in most cultures, architecture is a romanticized profession, right? Especially in Hispanic culture. You see all these architects on the telenovelas and all that stuff. What are they? They're white, successful, and that's how they portray us, right? They don't portray us sleeping at night and everything. So that's how I was in that project. So, and then, but I saw people all kinds of walks. There was the rich people that were lazy. There was the rich people that were really, you know, they were there and they were like getting their stuff done, using their budget and their money to like pull out crazy models, crazy stuff. So, and then there's the, like, you know, but in my experience, most of the lower income, you know, people that got the opportunity to be there were pretty hardworking. Overall, I think there's a brotherhood and sisterhood among architecture students, among studio. So in the end, I think the pro of going to architecture school is that you meet friends that you're probably gonna keep for a while, right? You're gonna you forge a bond through this pain and torture you're gonna go through, and it sometimes keeps going through, you know, after school, right? A lot of my graduate friends back at my university in North Carolina, they're all still good friends. I see them online and stuff. You know, obviously I'm in California, you know, but they're all pretty good friends. They all stick around too, and they're all going places. So I'm happy for them, and you know, they all stuck to North Carolina. I mean, I had to come back home to Cali, like Slash. But yeah, anyways, if you're thinking of going to architecture school, I just, you know, ask you guys to really research. And I'm gonna post a video here later on about, there's a good documentation video called Archiculture, and it talks about the school, right, and how the process. And it's hard, but if you guys like it, if you really love it, try it. My best advice is try to get it for free, get your license, and get a minor, like something that's useful, like coding, software engineering, business, something useful that you can use to advertise yourself better. And then you'll have a more successful time. And you never know, you might be the next Pritzker winner. You could probably hire me or something. But yeah, that's my take on should you go to architecture school or or not. But in the end, it's your choice. Do your research and figure it out for yourself deep down in your heart if that's what you want to pursue. The worst thing you want to be is be third year, fourth year about to graduate and then decide to change majors, because there's a lot of people do that. And just for statistic wise, my school started my class of 100 by the end of the year for fourth year went down to 25 people. So, and this is not one of the tougher schools. It gets worse if you go to like MIT and all those schools, right? You might start with 100 and your graduation class is going to be 10. One of my professors, his master's, there was only 3 master graduates. So it's a tough field. Anyways, click and subscribe, guys. Thank you guys for watching my architecture and gym videos. I have more stuff coming up tonight, and I'm gonna load this architecture video so you guys can get a peek into architecture. See you.